Good evening and welcome to our Board of Education meeting. Today is Monday, September 23rd, and the time is 6:30 p.m. and I would like to call this meeting to order. If you are able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Lavelle, if we could have a roll call, please.
Yes. Mr. Doring?
Here.
Mrs. Passaretti?
Here.
Mrs. Reynes?
Here.
Dr. Reed?
Here.
Ms. Regan?
Here.
Dr. Roscoe?
Here.
Mr. Ross?
Here.
Mrs. Versace? Mr. Votto? 7 members present and voting.
Thank you so much. So we are excited for our student board representatives to be with us for the first time to start this school year. So I will ask our Lyman Hall representatives to come up. I know it's typically going to be Maggie Corso, but I believe there is a substitute this evening, Samantha Jackson. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining and giving us this update.
Hello, my name is Samantha Jackson, and I'm a senior at Lyman Hall High School. I will be filling in for my classmate, Maggie Corso, tonight. We are off to a great start this school year, starting with our Lyman Hall Ambassador Program, welcoming our freshmen and transfer students into the Lyman Hall student body during a 2-day orientation at the end of August. This is where our ambassadors, upperclassmen, show new students around the school and help make them feel welcome and safe in their new environment. On October 8th, Save a Life Tour will be coming to Lyman Hall. They are a safe driving awareness program that will bring awareness to young drivers about careless driving habits and various driving experiences. Students will have the opportunity to sign a safe driving pledge throughout the day. On October 12th, Lyman Hall will be hosting a band competition. Please make all efforts to stop by and watch our students take the field and bring spirit to our school. This is also an important time of the year for our seniors at Lyman Hall High School as we are quickly approaching application season for college. On October 1st, 8th, and 15th, the seniors have the opportunity to attend after-school application workshops thanks to our counseling office, as this makes the college process easier as we are able to receive help and guidance to make sure everything is completed and ready when we submit our applications. Not only is it application season for seniors, it is also Powder Puff time. Lyman Hall has had the first 2 practices of Powder Puff and is off to a great start. It has brought unity within the senior girls and is an amazing opportunity that I'm so excited and happy to be a part of. It has created spirit and lively energy throughout the senior class and the student body, and will continue to do so throughout the next couple months. Another event Lyman Hall will be hosting is Haunted Hallways on October 25th. This is a student council event where Lyman Hall is turned into a haunted house by student volunteers. This is an event where children are welcome to walk the decorated halls, creating a fun and safe night to celebrate Halloween. Thank you for allowing me to share our recent and upcoming events at Lyman Hall High School.
Thank you so much, Samantha, for being with us and for filling in. That's a great update. Sounds like you guys have really been off to an amazing start to your school year, so thanks for joining us. We now have our report from Mark T. Sheehan. Oh, by all means, applaud. It takes a lot of courage to come up here and talk at that microphone. And make sure we keep that applause going for our representatives for Mark T. Sheehan. So we have Nick Kent and Cole McDonnell. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having us. It's quite an honor. My name is Cole McDonnell, and this is Nick Kent, and we are this year's co-executive chairpeople for the Sheehan Student Council. With the new school year came lots of formalities as always. Many of our clubs have had their first introductory meetings in the past week or 2, and fall sports have started to play against other schools. On September 11th and 12th, students had picture day during their English classes so that everyone could see their smiling faces. And this past Friday on the 20th, our football team took the win against Xavier High School 31-28 and were mentioned as the game of the week on NBC. That also marks Coach Frazzi's 101st win in his career, with his 100th win coming in their 47-6 victory over Griswold last week. Our first upcoming event is this Wednesday, where members of Student Council will be helping parents find their way around the school during our open house from 6 to 8 p.m. Then at the end of the week, on Friday the 27th, Student Council is also hosting a students versus staff volleyball game as a spirit competition for the students. Spirit points will be awarded to the grade that scores the most points against the teachers, the team with the most sportsmanship, and the grade that the most spectators. Go ahead, Nick.
So I'm Nick, I'm a junior, so is Cole. And moving into October, on Tuesday the 8th, we're gonna have our club recruitment day. So during the lunch waves, any club will have the opportunity to have a table where new students and old can find new things to do in school and get involved in the community. On the 9th, our freshman class will be having their class election, so they'll be able to be a part and participate in our school's student council. Every other class will also have their class meetings run by their officers elected last year. Then one of the most important things we do at Sheehan is our blood drives. So on Friday, October 11th, any students or staff who meet the age and weight requirements will be able to donate a pint of blood to save lives. On the topic of health, on October 15th, our school is having a flu clinic for our staff, so they'll be able to get flu shots then. On October 22nd will be our class 2025 group photo, a memory that will start off the beginning of the school year for them and hopefully have a great rest of their senior year. The day after that, on the 22nd, there'll be PSAT testing for all underclassmen. Then seniors will have the opportunity to take the Seal of Biliteracy. Well, they can be honored here at the end of the year if they pass. And from October 23rd to the 31st will be our Red Ribbon Week, where we celebrate to raise awareness about alcohol, tobacco, smoking, along with other drug-free messages in order to encourage a safe life for our students. In the last week of October, DECA will attend their Fall Leadership Conference on the 28th. Parent-teacher conferences will be on the 29th, and October 31st will be the end of our first marking period, but also be a great opportunity for students to wear their costumes to school and earn spirit points for their class. Thank you so much for having us, and we're ready to be with you for the rest of the school year and give you updates.
Thank you so much, Nick and Cole. This was amazing. This is one of the board highlights, having the student representatives come. So I was so happy to see the student representatives back on the agenda. We look forward to really being able to keep a pulse on what's going on in our high schools through you. So thank you so much for being here. You are welcome to stay for this very riveting meeting, or you can go if you have homework and other things. So please feel free to be excused if you would like to be. Thank you so much again for being here. Next, we are moving on to the presentation and awards portion of our agenda, and I'm going to pass this over to Dr. Thompson and Superintendent Belizzi, but I believe you have the center stage, Dr. Thompson.
Thank you, Dr. Roscoe. And board members, it is a great night to be part of the Wallingford Public Schools. Not only do we celebrate our student representatives, but tonight we celebrate the excellence in our educators. And we could not be more thrilled to welcome and celebrate our Educators of the Year for the 2024-25 school year. So I'm going to introduce the principals of our honorees, and they are going to come up and say a few words and call our honorees up to give them their well-deserved recognition. So let's start with Cook Hills principal, Mr. Monroe, who has a very special presentation for our Para-Educator of the Year.
Here, there.
You can come up and, be embarrassed with me if you'd like to. It's hard to follow the high school students. I mean, that was fantastic by them. I have a few short words. I was told a little intro for Amy Sheeran, and I've just started at Cook Hill back in July, and for me, getting to know the school and getting to know the community, Amy was one of the first people that I met and one of the first people I connected to in the school building. And the first thing that I thought of, if this is the type of person, the type of individual that comprises this community, it's going to be a pretty special place for me to be at. Amy, from day one, has been a team player, someone who is willing to do anything and everything to support our students and our community. From my experience, someone who goes above and beyond each and every day to make sure that our students have their needs met, to make sure our staff feel supported, to make sure her colleagues have everything they need to be successful in helping our community be the best that it can possibly be. Amy has supported me in my conversations, and one of the most important things for me that Amy has done is Amy has trusted me in sharing her thoughts and sharing her ideas about her role, about what we're doing at Cook Hill, what I should be doing in my role at Cook Hill. And I value and respect that so much because it's something that sometimes in a role like mine, people are nervous, scared, worried to share their thoughts and their thinking. And the fact that she has that confidence and has that ability really speaks to who she is as an individual and what she does bring to the table in her role both at Cook Hill and in the Wallingford community. In addition to my words, I felt it was important to not only speak to what I feel about Amy, because I've only known her for a short time, but I thought it was important to share some of the thoughts of her colleagues that nominated her for this award this past school year. So I do have some different characteristics that they shared and some thoughts behind those characteristics that I'd like to share with you now. So they answered a question for me that was, what makes Amy Sheeran special to Cook Hill and Wallingford? And some of the things that were said were that she's dedicated to student success. Amy goes above and beyond in her daily work with students, helping students carry over and generalize skills, demonstrating her commitment to their growth and success. She's gentle and compassionate. Amy has a quiet, gentle touch with children, creating an environment where they feel truly cared for and supported. She fosters trust and empathy. She builds strong, trusting relationships with her students, meeting them where they are and encouraging them to reach their full potential. She's a true team player. Amy is always ready and willing to help students and staff approaching every challenge with a positive attitude and a smile. Inspiring presence. Her passion for creating a loving, supporting school environment shines through with her involvement in our Sunshine Committee, our K-Kids, and so many more different things she does in our school building. Natural leader. Amy is seen as both a teacher and a trusted friend to students and staff, showing unwavering support, care, and leadership every single day. Deep connection to students. She has an intuitive sense of what each student needs, serving as a cheerleader, listener, and source of endless patience and reassurance. Community builder. Through initiatives like her Mindfulness Mondays, of which we had the first today, and her role in co-leading the Sunshine Committee, Amy brings the Cook Hill community together and promotes well-being. Respected and valued. Amy is an honest, caring, and open individual who values her role in shaping the lives of the children she works with. Trusted colleague and advocate. As the para-union representative, Amy is always available to listen and address concerns, providing support both inside and outside of school hours. Positive influence. Her compassionate, extra-mile approach, coupled with her dedication to creating a positive atmosphere, makes Amy an indispensable part of our Cook Hill team. The staff at Cook Hill is both humbled and proud to work alongside Amy every day. We are grateful for her selfless work, leadership, and meaningful impact she has on both students and staff. She is truly deserving of the Para Educator of the Year award. Congratulations.
Amy, in addition to the flowers and a book, Follow the Moon Home, we also have a clock memorializing your Para Educator of the Year award. Congratulations. At this time, I'd like to call up the Dag Hammarskjöld principal, Mr. Jawizik, to present our 2024-2025 Teacher of the Year.
Good evening, everyone. I am Frank Jawizik, the principal of DAG. Sorry, this microphone doesn't go up any higher. I want to begin by congratulating all of those who are here to be recognized tonight with an award. Thank you so much for all that you do to support our students throughout the district. It's an absolute honor to be here tonight as we celebrate an extraordinary individual who embodies the spirit of our school community as our 2024 District Teacher of the Year. She is not only a remarkable educator who excels in the classroom, but has had a profound impact on our school climate and culture and on the lives of each and every one of her students. Our District Teacher of the Year is a prime example of what it means to be a dedicated and innovative teacher. As an 8th grade math teacher, her students enter the school year with varying degrees of self-efficacy and confidence in their academic abilities. By the end of the school year, it is evident that her students have developed a love for learning math as she has transformed it into an engaging and inspiring experience where all of her students feel successful and that they can achieve at high levels. By embracing new, high-leverage instructional practices, she creates an environment where all students feel valued and challenged and are able to succeed. Her commitment to student engagement, coupled with developing positive relationships with all of her students, results in significant growth over time, where students are motivated to continue to learn to the best of their abilities because of their continuous success in meeting high expectations. As a result, not only is she the trusted adult for so many of her students, but is also viewed as a leader in the math department, where she is the first to open her doors to her colleagues to collaborate and share her best practices, reaching students well beyond her classroom walls. Her influence continues to go beyond the classroom when it comes to leading initiatives to create a safe and positive school climate, where all students and staff have a positive experience in middle school. As a leader and significant contributor to our school climate committee, together with her colleagues, she has led opportunities that uplift morale and school spirit to create a strong sense of belonging for all of those who enter our doors. Whether it is developing programs to celebrate students for meeting our Panther Pride expectations, leading school-wide spirit days, engaging in healthy competition through our Team Color Wars, or championing community and team-building activities, her collaborative efforts have made our school an exciting place to learn and a welcoming environment for everyone. She has not only elevated the morale of her students, but has also inspired her colleagues to follow her lead to ensure that all students at DAG have these assured experiences. As a mentor and leader, she is respected and admired by her peers. She collaborates tirelessly, shares her knowledge of her commitment to continuous learning, and is the first to volunteer to work with others with the goal of improving student learning outcomes. Her students describe her as caring, enthusiastic, and trustworthy, and someone who makes learning fun. Her colleagues say she is the first to lend a helping hand, add some creativity to a lesson, and her positive attitude is infectious to those with whom she interacts. Her passion for teaching, her commitment to student growth, and her dedication to ensuring that all students truly have an enjoyable experience in school sets the standard for excellence in education. Tonight, please join me in celebrating the achievements and positive impact she has had not just on our staff and students at DAG, but also on our staff and students throughout Wallingford. Congratulations, and it is with great pride that I introduce the 2024 District Teacher of the Year, 8th grade math teacher at DAG, Mrs. Kristen Burkhart.
Ms. Burkhart, in addition to the flowers, we have a book for you as well, and it is also our pleasure to give you a clock memorializing your spot as Teacher of the Year. Congratulations. Eric Carbone is truly the definition of a leader. He's willing to come into a classroom and support a teacher's lesson. He's aware of the demands placed on teachers and finds ways to help support his staff. Mr. Carbone puts his staff and students' well-being as a top priority. He has created a supportive and caring environment, a learning environment at Mary G. Fritz School. And Mr. Carbone has high expectations for his staff and his students. He puts the well-being of every child in the forefront of his daily work. Mr. Carbone communicates transparently and with constantly with the school community using a variety of mediums. He plans relevant and meaningful professional development activities for the staff, always in support of student success. Leading with the staff, Mr. Carbone has established a school that focuses on respecting each other. Mr. Carbone is always available to support his staff and recognizes that everyone at Mary G. Fritz has to work together to make an environment that supports every student every day. Whether it's creating the very popular Fritz Zone or participating in classroom activities with the students, Mr. Carbone's hands-on approach and unwavering commitment to staff, students, and families makes him an incredible choice for this recognition. It's my great honor to introduce my colleague and friend, Mr. Eric Carbone, Wallingford Public Schools 2024-25 Administrator of the Year.
Good evening, and first, congratulations to our colleagues that are here this evening. It's a wonderful recognition. Thank you for all you do. Thank you so much for this honor. Being named Administrator of the Year is humbling, but I stand here as a representative of so many others who deserve and share in this recognition as well. I have the privilege of working with talented colleagues and mentors who guide me and make me a better administrator every day. At Fritz, there is an amazing staff of professionals who are passionate, hardworking, and constantly focused on doing what is best for kids. They also keep me grounded and provide moments of levity, usually at my expense. They, along with the students and families, are the reason our school shines. They are the reason I am up here, not the other way around. Finally, thank you to my family for their constant love and support. In education, we just don't impart knowledge, we shape futures. Every decision we make, every initiative we champion has the power to inspire curiosity, fuel potential, and transform lives. It's our collective responsibility to ensure that every student feels seen, supported, and capable of achieving greatness. So let us continue to keep our focus on what truly matters, the success and the well-being of students in the Wallingford Public Schools. Together, we can create an educational environment that not only prepares them for the future, but inspires them to lead it. Thank you, and let's keep moving forward together.
Mr. Carbone, please accept these tokens of appreciation for all that you do, including a picture from Mrs. Turner, so you have to. Don't forget the clock. Julie will grab some. Thank you very much. Let's give a nice round of applause to these outstanding educators.
Thank you so much, Dr. Thompson, for that presentation, and congratulations to all three of our recipients. There's probably not a thank you big enough for everything that you do and how you lead our district. And so from the bottom of all of our hearts, thank you so much, and continue to make that great impact here in Wallingford. We really appreciate you, so thank you. Moving right along to public comment, I believe I see some people who are in the audience who are here for public comment. So prior to that, I will just read this public comment statement. The Board of Education welcomes you to our meeting. As always, we look forward to public input. Before we begin, we want to review the process of comments and questions for this meeting. These terms are per policies 9323 and 1120. Public comment is intended for the Board of Education as an entity, as individual board members do not have decision-making authority. Public comment is intended to allow citizens to comment and ask questions. These will either be answered during this meeting or at a later date by the superintendent if additional research or materials are required. We ask that everyone behaves in a respectful way that sets an example for the students that we all wish to serve. If you are able, please limit your public comment to 3 minutes. We will be timing it just so everyone has equal opportunity to express themselves. And with that, I will open public comment. If you don't mind just coming to the microphone, please, and stating your name and address for the record, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for being here.
Bill McGovern, 53 Ward Street. First, I'd like to congratulate all the recipients tonight. You guys are definitely an example of what we look forward to educating our students and developing our students within the Wallingford school system. Good evening, everyone. My children both attended Lyman Hall and the Ag program and were in the music program. My daughter is currently attending the Honors Dual Degree program at Sacred Heart University and is a proud member of the Pioneers Marching and Pep Bands. While a STEM-related biology to PA is her degree track, music has played a huge part in her development. She received financial aid from the school with respect to band participation and has been able to develop relationships with fellow band members, making the transition to college easier. She is one of numerous examples of our district's graduates having benefited from the well-rounded music offering in Wallingford schools. We, the parents supporting music education, have been persistent in asking the board and the central office to work on ways to get both music and ensemble participation in all grade levels throughout the district. On June 18th, board meeting at Lyman Hall High School, Superintendent Belizzi was asked, I believe by the chair, from numerous emails, about ensemble meeting more often. Band, chorus, and orchestra without regular ensemble blocks is like the outfield, infield, pitchers and catchers practicing and then only playing in the championship game. It was stated by the superintendent that this concern also came up in the middle school committee. Ms. Belizzi emphasized that this was discussed with the administrators at the elementary and middle school level and was placed on the summer to-do list for the 3 to 5 and 6 to 8 levels. My question through the chair to Ms. Belizzi in the central office is, the central office achieve this summer to-do list item? And are we continuing to evaluate other options to offer music to our students? Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Superintendent Belizzi, do you want to address this now? I know you had mentioned that you had wanted to give an update in the superintendent's report, but since this is earlier and that's later in the meeting, maybe addressing it now?
Sure.
Thank you.
So that is something that was addressed over the summer. I know our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction met with the elementary 3-5 music teachers or band teachers. They did discuss opportunities for how they can pull ensembles together. So I know they are working on that. Our middle school administration is doing the same thing. They are currently in the process of working on when they can pull that. Pull those groups and make sure that they have that continuing to go through. So it is something that they are working on and in the process of figuring out how they can do it. Our numbers at both middle schools are higher than they have been. You know, in the past they were lower, but right now where we are, just to give you some reference, for DAG we have 134 band students, we have 91 chorus students, and we have 71 string students. At Moran Middle School, we have 153 band students, we have 83 chorus students, and we have 56 string students. So that is definitely something that we see the music program growing. We saw it when they were moving from the elementary level in the 5th grade, moving on. The numbers are definitely much higher, so we hope our students will continue that as they move through the high school levels in both Lyman Hall and Sheehan. But in terms of the ensemble, they are working on making sure they can have that happen at both middle school levels. I believe they have some schedules that they are working on and things that they will share with the administrators. With their teachers, excuse me.
My mic wasn't on. Is there additional public comment? Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Brian Sear, Edgehill Road, Wallingford. I have 3 little boys in the Wallingford school system, and I'd like to start by congratulating Mr. Giardina and the Sheehan population on a tremendous competition event this past weekend. Both of the schools from Wallingford attended with great performances, and the Lyman Hall program will be hosting theirs in a couple weeks. And it's important to note that with those 2 events, Wallingford is the only town in the state of Connecticut that hosts 2 major competitive marching events in their own town, the only one. And those are long storied traditions here in Wallingford. And it was important to note, though, through conversations with those directors, that we're also experiencing the lowest enrollment in those programs to date. They're the smallest programs they've been. And while the numbers may be larger, if you look at 6 through 8 as a total, the drop-off between 6 and 8 is at an all-time high. So the numbers that are coming into grade 9 are exceptionally low. And the simple answer is what Mr. McGovern said earlier. There has to be an ensemble program. If you look at any solid program across the state of Connecticut, those programs include ensembles. And if you look at programs across the state, if you look at districts across the state that have strong test scores and strong academics, those programs are paired with strong academics as well. So throughout the year, we would really like to hear from administrators in terms of what concrete steps are being taken in real time to address this absolute essential need. Because if you look at the 9th grade numbers at Sheehan and Lyman Hall, if we add those into grade 10, 11, and 12, you will not have band programs within the next few years if these trends continue. So we look forward to hearing through the chair any steps that are, concrete steps that are being taken, and we thank you so much for addressing this, this critical issue.
Thank you so much. Go ahead.
John Bow, 8 Perkins Drive in Wallingford, and thank you for your comments. When we hear that the numbers are growing, we don't have a basis of comparison. I've had 3 children come through the middle school music programs in the town of Wallingford, beginning in 2008. The numbers aren't larger than they were then, they're much smaller. Somehow, without the sophisticated, automated scheduling software, from 2008 right up until the pandemic in 2020, we were able to find time for our ensembles in the middle schools to play together. So they didn't have separate practices and only meet in the championship game. This is not beyond us. I visited this chamber this summer as the only person in public comment over the summer to remind you that everybody is still watching, that we do wish to hold everyone accountable, and that if promises are suggested or made, that we want to hear the follow-up. We want to know that the meetings already took place when they were on the to-do list for the summer. We want to know that we're not just relying on AI and algorithms, but rather humans who have a vested interest in the students' education to make sure they have these opportunities. Again, when I came to this town a little over 20 years ago, I chose Wallingford. I chose Wallingford. I didn't just live here and not leave. But I chose this district because of its music programs, because of its STEM programs, because of STEP and the high number of students who were going on to college after high school. And it's not better than it was in 2001 when I came here. It's worse. And by not attending to these key programs that draw families to our area, that help enrich that educational process, those numbers may continue to fall, and we'll see our population continue to dwindle. When I first got involved in the town to make my voice heard against reconfiguration, I would tell people, hey, I'm not from Wallingford, but I got here as quickly as we could. This is my home. I've lived here as long as I've lived anywhere in my life, and I hope to continue. But I don't want to stand by and watch as our schools physically crumble and our programs deteriorate. I know the board wants the best for our kids. Of course, that's why we're all here. Let's not settle for good enough. Let's keep striving for better. Let's let the awardees, who are examples tonight, become the norm. And let's work towards enriching the programs for these young folks. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for your comments. Is there anyone else? Oh, okay. Come on up, welcome.
Hi, Katie Salzo, 9 Shady Drive. I'm also with the Lyman Hall and DAG music program. These guys bolted me into coming out to support. My son is a junior at Lyman Hall, and he's currently one of the drum majors. My daughter is in 7th grade. She plays the flute, and she is not the best. She is not going to win any kind of awards for playing the flute. Does she practice every day? No. But Mr. Meerman is her safe person at school, and band is very, very important to her. And when my son was in 6th grade, I know that they used to have the time every third day or every, 6 days where the entire band could get together to practice. And having been in band myself in high school and college, I know how magical it is to be able to play with the entire band, to hear all of the pieces of the music come together and not just hear a lot of other flutes who were not good either. It's really important for the kids to be able to play all together and make that music together. So I just wanted to lend my support to this. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak at public comment? Going once, going twice? Okay, 3 times. With that, I will close public comment. Thank you so much for your comments and the respectful nature in which you addressed. That's really appreciated. Moving on to item number 7 on our agenda, it's the consent agenda. I would like to make a motion to accept consent agenda items 7.1 through 7.3 and 7.5 through 7.15. May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Do not see any discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries. Item number 8 is items that were removed from the consent agenda, and one item was requested to be removed. That was item 7.4, the approval of proposed adoption or the revision of policy 4125.6 and 4252.6 Family and Medical Leave Act. And Mrs. Reynes, I know that you were the one who requested this to be pulled off, so I'll just pass this right over to you so you can open up the discussion.
Thank you so much. Yes, I had brought up some concerns about this item in our policy meeting that we had a few weeks ago, and, just slept on it and thought about it, and part of being up here is voting our conscience. And I just, don't feel that the language is truly, you have to be very careful with FMLA. So my background, we all talk about our backgrounds. I worked for the Department of Labor for many years, and I did a lot of union work while I was there, and the intermittent FMLA piece just didn't sit very well with me. I thought that the wording could reflect a little bit more of our operational needs rather than accommodating the schedule of the employee that's coming forward. I also feel that perhaps some of the language could be misconstrued as slightly discriminatory because we don't want to make it like we're attempting to dissuade anybody from taking intermittent FMLA. And, it's something that I thought about and reflected on, and in good conscience, I can't consent to this item. So that's why I had asked for it to be pulled from the agenda.
So, is there anyone else who wants to make a comment based off of Mrs. Reynes's comments before Mr. Votto?
I was wondering if you can get a little more specific. I don't have the policy in front of me, so.
Sure. Well, you know what? I have to pull it up on
Would it be helpful if it could be, I believe, do you have it, Mrs. Latour, the policy available?
I don't have a hard copy, no. It was in your packets,
Oh, I have
think.
it, sorry.
I brought
have
it with me.
I have it right here in front of me in my pocket. I'm sorry.
That would be much better than my phone.
We'll just pass it down to you.
It's just hard to read on the screen. Thank you so much. So for instance, there's a couple of places where I'm sure it's presumed that if the board decides to transfer an instructional employee temporarily to another job, that they would retain their same pay and benefits, but we don't state that in this. So I think that should be stated. And there's a couple of places where, you would think it's presumed because it is stated in another spot, but the language doesn't quite carry through. I also wanted to point something else out, but I might have to look on my phone because I had highlighted it. It was very specifically.
Excuse me, Ms. Rennies, can I just ask a question? The first edit that you're considering or proposing, is the wording in their contract currently? And you just want it to match what's in their contract? Am I understanding that correctly?
I'm not sure what's in everybody's individual contract for the FMLA language, but I think this is the board's policy in general. So I would say that it's really important to beef up the policy, because if there's any wiggle room in the contract, they might defer to the policy. So I would make certain that it's in here. But I mean, if anybody feels otherwise, I just can't sleep on it if I feel like there's some loose end, and I don't want somebody that's taking intermittent leave or any misinterpretation down the line and then to say, I never said anything, So that's where my concern lies. I'm not sure if that helps your question or not.
Maybe another way of asking, what you're proposing to add to the policy, that wording exist anywhere in our other policies or in our HR? Ben, I'm looking at Dr. Thompson because he's our HR guy.
Right. So, respectfully, Mrs. Reynes, I hear what you're saying, and what I understand you to talk about with the intermittent, and if I understood you correctly, if somebody comes back, that they're entitled to come back in a position that is equal, that's in the law, that's in the federal law, right? So that's codified in the language of the law, and I think the policy references that. If you look on page 2, under the FMLA and applicable state law, time may be taken, and then, of course, it gets into later on the whole idea of the intermittent versus full FML. But yeah, to your, I guess, Mrs. Passaretti, what you're looking for me to, we would, when someone applies for FMLA and they qualify, it's the law, we have to honor it, so.
Right, and sometimes when we're writing policy, we don't write it in a way where it's a summary of what's in the legislation. We do have parts of legislation as part of our policy, but it's the reason why we put that at the very bottom. We refer to the actual statute for people to then, for further reading. But I understand what you're saying. If someone was just looking at the policy, sometimes people don't go further and read more about what their rights are and how we handle things. So,
there's another point too. That's I'll find exactly where it says it in this, but it talks about the schedule changing of a type of position, transferring them to a different position to better accommodate their type of leave requested. And that to me is slightly discriminatory. I think it should say something like operational needs. It should be operational needs based related. So that's really why that person is going to be moved to a different position, because if you're blaming them for their own, it's just, these are just my thoughts and from my experience in going back and taking notes.
Mrs. Latour, can I ask you a question? Has this policy passed muster as far as our attorneys, and is the standard language for this type of policy?
So this entire policy was written by Shipman and Goodwin. So, we've talked about in the past, there are certain policies that are legislatively driven, and then there are certain policies that are board-driven. So the board-driven one, we write from scratch. Legislatively driven policies are purely written by our attorneys and CABE, who specialize in interpreting the law and writing it in a way that school systems can apply. So this one is a straight Shipman and Goodwin. This is why you've heard me say, I don't like to change the attorney's wording. This is one that is straight from the attorneys.
Mr. Daring.
Thank you. So, Mrs. Reynes, I really appreciate you raising this for us to discuss. I really appreciate you taking the time to read this. So none of this is intended as disrespectful to you, because I know you spent a lot of time researching this. I guess I have similar thoughts that while I appreciate the work of the board in reviewing this, this is written by lawyers, and I trust that it's written this way for a reason. If a sentence is included or is not included, I trust that it's done so with reason. Therefore, I would be comfortable with the policy as it is written without any modifications from the board. Thank you.
Superintendent Belizzi.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the bottom of page 5, and as I'm reading it, if something like this was to happen, it's a discussion. And so it's not that I just want to be clear, it's not that the board is just automatically doing it. It's a discussion and an interactive process that happens when the board, when central office meets with that particular employee and has a discussion based on their needs as to whether or not that person will be transferred. So it follows the whole interactive process and discussion, and it's just not automatically done. The pay and everything else may stay the same, but the position may be different based on the conversations that are had and the interactive process that's happened and meeting the needs of that employee at that given time based on medical documentation, schedules needed, whatever's happening for that individual person, because each one of those are handled individually. So it's not something that we just blanket do. Even though this is the way it's written based on the law, which I totally agree with, our attorneys have written it based on that, but there's a behind the scenes that happens for any employee that's asking for this and discussions that are happened.
Does anyone else have something? Okay, go ahead, Mrs. Regan.
And is it a correct statement to say that the legislature would supersede any policy that we have, correct? So even
correct,
regardless of what this policy says, we're going to always defer to the legislature because it is a state statute, right? So we would defer to whatever that state statute is.
Correct.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I was just going to ask Mrs. Reynes, did you have a proposed modification that you thought would be more amenable to what the Shipman and Goodman policy was brought, or what Shipman and Goodman brought forward?
You know, just the thing that bothered, the language that bothered me the most was that it better accommodates the type of leave requested. And I would switch that to something that said pertain to our operational needs and didn't put the onus on the type of leave that was being requested. But, I didn't come tonight to rechange the whole policy, because I do think that, they know what they're doing. They did a good job. I just came, in good conscience to say, I can't agree with this the way that it stands. So I don't know if you want a further discussion on it, or I don't want to, take up any more time, but I just don't, I also, wouldn't want the board to be sued in the future either if there's some discrepancy down the line and, nothing was said by somebody, and so I'm here saying some stuff.
No, and of course, always we can take as much time as needed to discuss anything so that everyone feels comfortable, and, that's why we are here. I think that, Mr. Votto, go ahead. No, go ahead.
As chairman of the policy committee, can you hear me now? Get closer? Okay, you really want me to get closer? Okay. Is it possible that we just bring this back to the policy committee and I beg your pardon?
I think it's hard, the way I'm seeing it, it's hard to bring it back to the policy committee if there's not a proposed change. Like, there's not another,
I get that, but it's hard for us to look at what Mrs. Reynes is trying to point out because we don't have the policy in front of us to see exactly the wording that she's referring to. And I do want to respect her concerns. I just looked it up on my phone and I'm trying to scroll through it and I can't find exact language where you were taking that from. I don't know, I just figured as an idea, we just, at our next policy meeting, just to look at it, have her write something out, and then we can make a,
But I'm going to be honest, anything that's discussed that's a change of language, then I'm going to have to bring back to our attorneys because the attorneys wrote this policy. And so, as I stated at the beginning of the month at instruction when we looked at it, this has been kicking around back and forth to the board, back to policy, to the board, back to policy. This is the law. And so that's just the final comments I have.
but is it just the wording?
Yeah, I mean, and to your point,
But
and
you're saying it's not written like, is it the law, or is it written as the law is written, or is it what our lawyers, how they interpreted the law, and that's the way it's written? That make any sense?
I don't know what their process is for taking the law as it's written and writing a policy. I'm not an attorney. I just take their advice and the policies that they create based on the legal standing of the legislation that's there. You know, as I said, this has been about 8 months that we've been kicking around this policy, which is why I would kind of like to put it to bed before the next change of legislation. I'm gonna have to bring it back to you. So I understand and I respect it. And you know, a lot of these situations in terms of family medical leave, when a staff member requests it, intermittent or full-time, as Superintendent Belizzi stated, it's a conversation with the individual. All of the avenues are discussed with that individual so that it's clear the person has enough time to ask questions and get advice from personnel. We'll contact attorneys if we have to again, just to make sure everything is clear and aligned. And so, you know, similar to the dual spouses who work for the district, where we talked about, you know, staff members feeling comfortable reaching out to personnel with any questions about leave that is applicable to their personal situation. You know, that's what we try to do as a personnel office. Dr. Thompson.
And Mrs. Latour, if I could just follow up on that. From my office, we deal with those interactive processes weekly, if not multiple times a week. For that very reason, it does become a very, we want to support our staff. We want to be, we are cognizant of the fact that they're not requesting FML lightly. So, but we also make very sure that we're following the federal law, right? The guidelines. So that interactive process is more than just signing a form, as I'm sure you know that. So in terms of just the process in our office with our employees, that is a continual conversation to ensure that they understand the guidelines and whether or not they qualify for FMLA, and then if so, what that looks like, and that we have the proper documentation to support their request.
Mr. Ross.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Votto. I don't see the harm in kicking it back to the policy committee.
Mrs. Reynes?
Yes, I just wanted to comment in kicking it back to the policy committee, and I know that we've been working on this for a long time, but I feel that like haste makes waste, and we pay those attorneys a lot of money, and we had a bid waiver to approve of that law firm to work for us. So if we have another question and we'd like to think about it and take our time and do our due diligence as the board, and we're the ones that might, be named in any kind of lawsuit, I think we should take advantage of that opportunity. And we keep saying that there's a process. But on page 5, I don't see any process. I see the board may, in its sole discretion, temporarily transfer, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't say, there's a meeting or and that might be what happens behind the scenes, but it's not verbalized here. And what happens if one employee comes up and says, I was treated differently than the previous employee, or somebody, got special treatment because that happened for them and it didn't happen for me. And there's a lot of questions that we have, and I think, that's why we have an attorney, and I'd like the attorney to answer some of them.
So, if I can, I'm sorry. So the U.S. Department of Labor puts out FMLA frequently asked questions. And so on page 2 and 3 of that, it discusses intermittent reduced leave schedule. And so it has 2 questions that it asks. Does an employee have to take leave all at once, or can it be taken periodically, or to reduce the employee's schedule? And the answer here for this one and for the second question, can an employer change an employee's job when the employee takes intermittent or reduced schedule leave? And the answer is almost verbatim from exactly what's in our policy, matches this language. And it basically talks about an employee's needing intermittent reduced schedule leave for foreseeable medical treatments must work with their employers to schedule the leave so as not to disrupt the employer's operations, subject to the approval of the employee's healthcare provider. In such cases, the employer may transfer the employee temporarily to an alternative job with equivalent pay and benefit that accommodate reoccurring periods of leave better than the employee's regular job. And so I think the language is very similar. Now, granted, I know I just read it to you guys, so I apologize for that, but I think it's very similar to what's already in that policy. But the U.S. Department of Labor does put out an FMLA, frequently asked questions, which is a very comprehensive document, and it does address piece of that. And it's clear in here that we can, as employers, do that. I'm just sharing what we've done in the past in order even to exercise that ability, which would not show up in the policy. It's more of the process that we follow. If that helps. I don't know if I confused people more, but I just thought I'd share what I brought.
Thank you. Mrs. Passaretti, I know you had another comment.
Just real quick, the beauty of the policy committee is that at any time, anyone can revisit a policy, even after. So what I'm suggesting is we can vote on this policy as it's written right now. And literally tomorrow you can write the policy committee an email that says, I want to redact this statement and I want it to read as such, and then we can bring it back to the policy committee. I think for Mrs. Latour's sake, I think she would very much like to button this one up just for tonight, but at any time we can revisit a policy that we just all agreed upon. But it would actually help. I think Mr. Vada said it would help if we saw what you had in mind as an edit, because I have brought up with other policies where I really wanted one little sentence in there to make me sleep better at night, even though the lawyers didn't add that. But we have done that. We have done that. So if this is something that you would be open to, just allowing us to vote on this just tonight to put it to bed, but then if you want to come up with a statement that you feel is better appropriate for this policy, and then have us talk about it again at the policy committee.
Mr. Ross?
I agree with that. That's a good idea. Let's do that.
Any more discussion?
Would that make you feel better, Ms. Latour?
Actually, it would, and it actually might make things a little bit easier, because then all of your shading and your strikeouts and all of that disappears. You have a clean version of what it looks like, Mrs. Reynes, which will happen within like the next, 24 to 48 hours. And then you can, if you don't, because these are hard to read when they're all edited, the way they're edited. So once all of the edits are gone and it's in true form, you can review it again. And if you have sample language that you would like the policy committee to consider to clarify things a little bit more, happy to bring it back to policy to look at that that paragraph or so without the cumbersome pages of edits that are currently in draft form.
Dr. Reed.
I just want to say, I do appreciate your bringing this forward, Mrs. Reynes, because you don't sit on the policy committee, but we all come with our backgrounds, and I think it's really important that you share, that you shared this and you understand this is what you've worked with, this is what you deal with. So I appreciate that's how this process is supposed to work. So I do appreciate you bringing this up.
Is there any more discussion on this item that was removed from the consent agenda? Well, Mrs. Passaretti, I think that was a fantastic idea. And so I'm going to, I will say, Mrs. Reynes, thank you for bringing this up. Always feel like we can take as much time as needed to discuss any item, always. We don't need to rush through anything, and I don't think that there was the intent of haste. I think it was just trying to take the legal language, but I think that this is a great idea to be able to take the clean copy. We'll take a vote. If it passes, then we'll have a clean copy, and then put those edits forward, and then we'll bring them back to policy and bring them to our attorneys for further investigation, and hopefully the edits will make everything feel much better for everyone who sits here on this board. So with that being said, I would like to make a motion to accept item number 7.4, the approval or proposal of the adopted revision of policy 4152.6 and 4252.6, the Family Medical Leave Act. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Is there additional discussion? And I am going to take a roll call vote. So Mrs. Lavelle, if you would please give us a roll call. Thank you so much.
Mr. Doring?
Yes.
Mrs. Passaretti?
Yes.
Mrs. Reynes?
No.
Dr. Reed?
Yes.
Mrs. Regan?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Votto?
Yes.
Dr. Roscoe?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that nice discussion on that policy, and we look forward to seeing some of those edits come forward. Moving right along to item number 9 on our agenda, it is correspondence. Mrs. Passaretti, I'll pass it to you.
Thank you, Dr. Roscoe. Tonight, I have 3 items of correspondence that I'd like to share. The first is a donation of miscellaneous school supplies, which has been received from the National Healthcare care of Amy Foreman. And the school supplies were donated to the general district. And the value of that is $500. We'd like to thank the National Healthcare for those school supplies, much needed. Very generous. Next, we have another very interesting donation of coffee drinks for the staff from 7 Brew Coffee. And these, the coffee drinks for the staff was given to Dag Hammarskjöld Middle School staff, the value being $500. For those that don't know or haven't been down Route 5 lately, 7 Brew Coffee is one of our newest members of our community, which we welcomed just recently. So we do thank you for that generous donation. And lastly, we have a monetary gift of $5,000 to our dental assistant program. And we received this donation by Dr. Keith LeBeau from Delta Dental of New Jersey. And that's actually my insurance company. I should have gotten that correctly. Dr. LeBeau happens to be the chief clinical officer for Delta Dental out of New Jersey. And that was donated to our Wallingford Adult Education Medical Program. Again, that was a monetary gift of $5,000. We thank Dr. LeBeau and Delta Dental for their generous donation to this amazing program that we have here in Wallingford. That is all I have. Thank you very much, Dr. Roscoe.
Thank you, Mrs. Passaretti. Moving to our committee reports, looking to our system-wide PTAC update, Assistant Superintendent Latour. Thank you.
There was not a meeting this month. The first meeting is on October 15th. And that, yeah, it was a committee, the system-wide PTAC, oh my gosh, I'm so inarticulate right now. System-wide PTAC alternates. There are committee meetings, and then there are full committee Google meetings. The small group committees met in the month of September. The full system-wide PTAC will meet for the first time via Google Meet on October 15th. Sorry about that.
No, perfect, thank you. Do you have anything for us, Assistant Superintendent Turner?
The Special Education PTAC, their first meeting of the school year is October 24th. We will be looking at electing officers, and the presentation for the evening is IEP 101, all you need to know about your child's individual education plan. So we're going to go over vocabulary, services, how to reach out to staff, all of those good things.
Thank you. I'm sure that's much needed, so that'll be a great learning opportunity for our families. I believe I know the answer to this, but Mr. Bondi, we did not have a food service meeting. One will be scheduled soon, so we can look forward to that update maybe at our next meeting. Dr. Thompson, Diversity, Equity, and the Inclusion Committee.
We have a couple of items. Our participation in the town-wide racial justice team. Our next meeting will be October 10th, but tomorrow night, Wednesday, September 25th, there will be a town-wide discussion sponsored by the team at the Senior Center regarding housing in our town. It is the second in a series of those conversations, and so we invite anybody to head to the Senior Center to participate.
Thank you. Mr. Deering, the CABE report, please.
CABE has held a series of webinars about various topics. There was recently one about how to use data on EdSite, which is the statewide education data portal. The recording and notes from it was circulated to the full board. The rest of the recordings are all available on the CABE website. As always, if anyone has any questions or wants to register and needs any help with it, just let me know.
And just a little follow-up, that was a really wonderful webinar, and I know I had sent it out to the board members to watch the replay because it really spoke to how to dig into the data, and it's something that's available just for our public to look at, and you can sort of look at the district as a whole, you can look school by school, and it spoke to kind of the gold standard of how we're using data and how we're testing our students, and I was very happy to be on the receiving end of hearing that we are really participating in the gold standard. And so that was something really wonderful to hear because that's not the case in some other districts surrounding us. And so that was a really great webinar. And as they were talking about the information, the hour and 15 minutes whipped right by, and it was noted that this presentation could have gone on for probably 3 weeks, and there'll be more forthcoming because it really is just such a hot topic, especially across the entire state. So a lot of good information came out of that. Moving right along, item number 11 is old business, which we do not have any. And now I would like to make a motion to go into executive session per the purpose of discussing resignations. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries. We are now in executive session. Welcome back. We are back from executive session. We are going to move to our instructional committee, Mr. Votto and Dr. Reed. I will pass this over to you.
Okay, 13.1, presentation of Wallingford Public Schools annual report. So I'll turn this over to whomever is going to do it.
That would be me. Thank you, Mr. Votto. So in front of you, you have a copy of our annual report from 2023, 2024. This is something that is just an overview of the school district's key activities, achievements, things we've been working on all last year, things we'd like to highlight. And as per the town charter, it is due to the mayor by the last day of the month of September. So we bring it here every year to kind of highlight some things we'd like to share with you overall. So I'm just kind of going to go through and highlight. I'm not going to read I know you've had an opportunity to read it, but I'd like to just kind of point out some of the things that we are working on and very proud of as we move through. If you look on the second page, you can see here, this is our district priorities and our goals. We're focusing in on academic, wellness, staff development. These were necessary for us to meet our students' needs as we move through last school year, and this will be something that we'll continue to work on as we move through this current school year. This is something that we shared when we met with our administrators through our admin retreat back right before school started. We do that every year. It will also continue to tie into our Portrait of a Graduate, which we did share a draft with our administrative team. That is something we're going to continue to work on and then finalize hopefully this fall, and will be shared with all of you. I do want to focus as we look at community partners. So we are very fortunate here in the district to receive donations. Every board meeting, we have an opportunity to thank those that make donations to us. And so we had collected $96,559 this past year. So it is something I wanted to highlight and thank all of our community members for all of their generous donations, whether it be time, in-kind donations, or school supplies, which we've heard a lot of. We really, truly appreciate everyone offering their assistance to us. The next thing I wanted to highlight is our competitive grants. So as you know, these are grants that Mrs. Latour, Mrs. Turner, Dr. Miafico, Mr. Bryant, a lot of our central office staff apply for. So these are competitive in the sense that they have to write proposals for them. They are reviewed by reviewers, either a single reviewer, multiple reviewers, and then they are awarded to us after they submit these grants. So last year we received $714,000 in grants, which we are very proud of. You'll see the decline there, but you have to remember that all of the COVID-19 pandemic grants are no longer with us anymore. So we're continuously looking for grants to help enhance and support what we're providing and meeting the students' needs. The next thing I wanted to highlight was our scholarships. So you'll see, I have to put my glasses on for this, you'll see this year, for the 23-24 school year, our students received a total, so we take both high schools, we put them together, $434,000 worth of scholarships. It is an additional, over the year prior, $148,000 addition. And, in talking with both of the high school administrators, they did point out, I know over at the Lyman Hall side, we had a student who received a 4-year scholarship for the University of Hartford, the Navy ROTC 4-year scholarship to attend Villanova. We had a UConn scholarship for a full ride. So those are things that are contributing to that, but it's very exciting to see that. I also wanted to point out, if you look at the high school data on page 4, so while the percentage of students attending 2-year and 4-year colleges have slightly decreased, you will notice that the number of students seeking employment right after high school, entering the military, or pursuing a degree, in technical schools or apprenticeships has increased. And there could be multiple reasons for that, as our students are, weighing their options, maybe looking at the rising cost of college education, looking at what their interests are. Maybe it's they'd rather, work right out of school, get a hands-on experiences. There are lots of opportunities for our students to, pursue trades and then kind of move up and learn on the job. And so we're seeing a lot more of that, which is excellent. Those are things that they're interested in and they're pursuing outside. And it may not necessarily mean that college is the path for them. So just wanted to point that out as we go through. If you take a look, we had 68.5% of the students earned a score of 3 or higher on our advanced placement exams. If you take a look, 979 early college experience credits earned by 283 of our high school students, which is key for our students that are heading on to college, and it does help, as my oldest daughter did that, and it did make a big difference, and she could have graduated early if she chose to, carrying all those credits from her high school experience. 94 students in the National Honor Society, and 64 students were honored as varsity scholars. If I continue on through curriculum and instruction department, just again, going to highlight just a few things as we move through. You'll take a look at their focus for last year, and it will continue on, is building the capacity of our staff to employ those high-impact teaching strategies to meet the needs of our students. They have, as you know, because you approve it, revised or created new courses or new curriculum. If you look at page 5 of the document, you'll see all of that curricula and courses that they have either added or revised, elementary, middle, and high school level, which is very comprehensive. And thank you to our curriculum department who works with our teaching staff to ensure that that happens, under the supervision of obviously Mrs. Latour, and our 3 to 5 year cycle is very key. In addition, page 6 and 7 of this is just a sampling of the professional development opportunities that we've provided to our staff. It's an extremely comprehensive list, and we work very hard to make sure we're meeting the needs of our staff as well. So looking at what they're requesting and what they're asking as we move forward. Underneath the personnel department, you'll see that in the 23-24 school year, we hired 26 teachers. We hired a new principal for Dag Hammarskjöld Middle School, the assistant principal at Mark T. Sheehan High School. While he was there the year before as a one-year position, then it became a permanent position. And some of the things that came out of that department this year was the revision of the educator and leader evaluation plan. We have negotiations that we've been working on. I know many of you are aware. You sit on our committees, so thank you very much for that. So we finished our negotiations with the managers. We're currently in the process of working and finishing IT and the custodian maintenance contracts. The clerical, the paraeducators will be next, and we're in the process also of finishing up our administrator negotiations as well. The business department, I know, has welcomed 2 new staff members into his department. We had someone at the copy center recently hired in the 23-24 school year, and a business office clerk as well, along with working very hard to make sure that they meet our payroll needs and work on the budget for us. In the special education department, just to highlight a few things there, we have the preschool coordinator that focused on alignment of the process across the district. So looking at executive functioning was a focus for professional development and instructional practices. If you take a look at the elementary, they were focusing on increasing the knowledge and skills of our teachers in math and literacy. So they provided focus with structured literacy instruction, identification of dyslexia, instruction in mathematics, IEP development. Middle school and high school continue to work on implementing research-based reading and math programs. And our mental health staff, they worked closely with our students and our families to really focus on the needs of our students and our families. So remember, we have the collaboration with Meriden Child Guidance, who has been very beneficial in helping our families and our students in providing counseling. We have Connecticut Behavioral Health that started counseling for our students and families. So we're also trying to really support our students and families in ways that we can outside of just our full-time school psychologists and social workers in all of our buildings. We had the annual resource fair that was held at Mark T. Sheehan High School, which was a big success this past school year. And we have Frank Pacone with us for Attune Schools Nurtured Heart. So he's been working with DAG and Lyman Hall, and last year he added Mark T. Sheehan to working with that staff as well. For the maintenance department, they worked with Colliers last year to develop our 10-year capital improvement plan, which we'll continue to revisit and revise as we move through. We had the Pond Hill boiler replacement that we started last year that's being done right now, the restoring of the tennis courts at both high schools, and renovating the ball fields at Dag Hammarskjöld Middle School. And then lastly, just a few highlights for technology. In the 23-24 school year, the following replacement items were purchased. They used our funding and grant funding for this. So just to note, 23 teacher laptops, 80 teacher MacBooks, 907 Chromebooks, and 52 interactive displays. They also provided professional development for our staff, Google applications, they did 7 different sessions, Power School for staff and parents, Parent Square, and ClassLink. That's just an overview of our document.
Dr. Reed.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we do a lot of wonderful things here in Wallingford. I really appreciate all the work and effort that goes into that. But we're also here to look at, everything. So I have one question. Well, I think the percentage of graduates that we have at the high school is good. I think it would be good to see an increase. But one of the questions I have is, do we know what % of those that do not graduate at the high school level go on to our adult ed program to graduate from an adult ed program?
I can take a look. I don't have it handy, but I can definitely get that to you. It's a
Okay.
great question.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Passaretti?
You mentioned that teachers can request a particular topic for professional development. What do you see as one of the most often requested by teachers? I'm just curious.
So the teachers can provide input in 2 different ways. One, they can request a conference to professionally develop themselves individually. And there's always a variety of different workshops that our teachers attend depending on level. So you'll see a lot of reading and writing workshops and instruction, STEM, play-based learning this past year, how to leverage the use of AI as a teaching tool is another way. And then really from internal sources and internal ways to look at departmental PD is through the management team. And so our management teams meet quarterly. They provide feedback to the curricular coordinator in terms of feedback from the department of where they would like to go. It could be small group instruction in the area of English language arts. It could be student discourse in patient problem solving within mathematics, and really starting to take broad topics and refine them into whether it's meeting individual needs, the needs of our ML learners or our students with special needs within the gen ed classroom, or they will provide broader context if we're shifting curricula.
Thank you.
Mr. Deering?
Thank you. So just one question. Ms. Latour actually hit on this a little bit in her answer to Mrs. Passaretti. Would you mind sharing anything further about anything that's done with artificial intelligence, either educating students or teachers on it, how it incorporates into the school district and society?
So we have focused a lot, Mr. Deering, first on our staff, really how to leverage the use of AI as an efficiency tool and a teaching tool for our staff members. AI has such wonderful benefits to assist staff in meeting the different levels of students within the room, creating lesson plans, changing level text. It really becomes such an amazing way to meet the varying needs of students within the classroom. From the student lens, it's a little bit more difficult, and we're just kind of at the beginning stages. When we look at the computer science classes, we certainly talk about the use of AI and the responsible use of students. Our teachers, especially at the high school level, talk about the use of AI when doing research and otherwise, and what are the right ways to use it and what are the wrong ways to use it. The state of Connecticut is also still kind of coming together with different ways that you can utilize AI in a classroom setting that also adheres to the strict data privacy laws. So that's kind of an area for growth for us as we move forward. We have chosen the task of first really educating our staff and how they could use it within the classroom under direct supervision with their students. And then we will continue as the rest of the state kind of comes up to speed with it, begin to identify ways that we can integrate it into our curriculum for students.
Thank you.
Are there, Mr. Votto?
Yeah, I'm amazed at the professional development that we offer the teachers. It's very comprehensive. I wanted to make that comment. I also wanted to make a comment about the special ed department. This has always been a very special interest of mine, and I'm so glad to see that we're still doing the, PTAC, special education PTAC, which was instituted a number of years ago by Mrs. Votto and Dr. Bravona. The annual resource fair is absolutely wonderful. We should really be patting ourselves on the back for the great special ed program we have here in this town. And in saying that, I'm going to digress for a minute and just add that, I don't know if you're all aware that the group of people decided to open up what they call a Kinder Ground Cafe here in town, which is it's right on North Colony Road, and it's going to be opening on September 26th from 10 to 2. And what it does is provide educational and social skills for those with special need adults, probably adults. It's also job training. It gets them out there into the world. So I just thought I'd give a shout out to that program and thank the people that organized this. They had a hard time trying to get this moving, and they finally found the place, and they're opening up this week. And I just wanted to throw a little plug in there for that.
Thank you, Mr. Votto. Is there anything else? I will just end by saying I appreciate the fact that you're highlighting the scholarships and the grants, because that is one of the things that through the CAPE workshop was really highlighted, that funding, although we need it to increase, it is really drastically decreasing. What's available to students individually is reducing, and what's available to districts as a whole is reducing. And so even though when you look across the board, it may look like there's a slight reduction, even taking COVID out of it, to secure those dollars and for our students to be awarded those dollars really says something, because there's less dollars available. So I just figured I would put that out there for public knowledge. Thank you so much. Mr. Votto, I will give this back to you for your second item.
(13.2) Approval of acceptance of resignations. We have one tonight. I make a motion that the Board of Education accept the resignation of Heather Sweeney, effective October 16th, 2024. Heather Sweeney has been a business teacher since August of 2017.
I second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Abstentions.
Thank you very much to our instructional committee. I'm looking to you now, Mrs. Regan and Mrs. Reynes, for our operations committee report, please.
Thank you. The Operations Committee did meet on Monday, September 9th. Just so everyone knows, I was not able to attend that meeting, but I have the minutes, and so I'm just going to go ahead and give just a brief summary based on the minutes. I do see that we ended the year with a very small surplus of $27,306.26. And I will have to say, off of a budget of $113 million, kudos to this team and to our business office and to the central office for doing that. That is less than 0.01%. So we manage the money that we are given, and I'm very, very impressed with that. So thank you to Mr. Barone for your diligence with keeping our finances straight, so. The next item that there was discussed was the surplus for the cafeteria and for food services, and that turned out to be for the 23-24 year, $157,591, and that will serve to continue to fund the program as that is a self-funding program. So, and then the last things that were discussed were some updates on the project summaries. I am happy to see that the vestibules are done. So we are happy to have all the vestibules and we are secure now. The elevator, the pool filter, so many things have got finished. Mr. Deptula had a very busy summer and into a very early fall. So as we've already pointed out, the boilers have been ordered and the tennis courts are going to be redone. So, and then I do think that you did speak a little bit about the wetlands area outside of Sheehan. So I do thank you for all the updates, and it sounds like all our projects are moving along. So that's what I have.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ross.
Can somebody tell me the status of the softball field at Lyman Hall? Is Mr. Deptula
Can I
here
answer
now?
that? The softball fields, I believe we requested the funding during the budget process. We did not receive funding. So there is really no work going on at the field, I believe, if that's what you're asking
Because the
about.
last, it's been a year and a half since it was approved to go ahead, and there are some parents who are really, really upset about this, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that they're contemplating a lawsuit because their daughter is not receiving the equal.
That is a town council issue, if I'm not mistaken. We did request that as part of our budget for this year.
And it wasn't
The town
funded.
council did not approve that on our capital expenditures, on our capital improvements items. And so we would need to go to the town council because that is a bondable project, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Correct. That's a capital item that we did request, but it was not, we did the plans.
Yeah, because we approved it a year and in March.
Well, no, we approved the plan, we paid for the plans, but we've never had the funding to go ahead with, going forward with renovating it and enacting the plans that we have. That is approximately, if you look at our 10-year capital plan, it's about another $504,000 that we requested last year, was not funded. It is definitely something that I can put in the budget again this year for a request going forward. But that would be something that unfortunately at this time we don't have the funding for, but we can put it through as a request for capital items for this coming school year's budget.
Because as you probably realize, the condition at the field is deplorable, beyond deplorable. Thank you.
Mr. Ross, just to follow up on that, I know that when we were doing our budget, before we brought it forward to town council, one of the things that I think collectively we had all talked about was that we had already had the plans in place, and so that's why it really rose to the top as a priority, as what we would put forward as a capital item, because we had the planning had been executed, we were able to roll forward if funding was granted, and so unfortunately, it was not. And so that's sort of where the halt came from, not for lack of endorsement, I think, here from the board.
Thank you.
Anything else on this? Okay. Thank you so much for those committee reports. And now we are moving to Superintendent Belizzi for her administrative report. Thank you.
Good evening again. So I just want to start by saying it's been a great start to the school year because the last time we saw one another, it was right before school was going to start. So school started for our K-12 students on August 29th, and for our preschool students, it started on September 4th. So it's been a great start. We're very proud of what we've been doing thus far, so we hope it continues. We've had an opportunity to start to hold a lot of our open house events. So far we've had Highland, Rock Hill, Cook Hill, E.C. Stevens, Parker Farms, Mary G. Fritz, and Moses Y. Beach have had an opportunity to all hold their open house events. This week we'll have Pond Hill Elementary School, James H. Moran Middle School, Mark T. Sheehan High School, and Dag Hammarskjöld will hold theirs. And then the following week we'll have Lyman Hall High School will hold their open house events. So we're hoping for them to be as successful as the ones in the past that we've had. Just to share some highlights as to some things that have been happening in the district. As I had shared with all of you, our new building location at 4 Fairfield Boulevard, which will be the new home for adult education in our Wallingford Transition Academy and central office. That building was closed on last Wednesday, so we're very excited about that. Mr. Deptula has been working very hard on putting out the RFP for our architect, so that will be our next step, is to getting someone in to help us finalize the plans and all the different areas of the building, so that then we can continue and move forward with the build out. At this point, our aim is to move in at the end, hopefully, of this school year. Obviously, we'll start with adult ed and the Wallingford Transition Academy first, and then central office will follow after that. Tomorrow we have on the town council agenda, we have a bid waiver request for the landscaping company. It is currently on the consent agenda. So as of thus far, I have not heard that it has been pulled off of consent, so that hopefully will move forward and get approved for the company that is moving in. So again, just for a reminder for everyone, that was due to the fact that the current landscaping company that we were using was unable to continue to finish the contract. So we have a landscaping company, Griffin Landscaping, who is a former Lyman Hall ASTE student, who has been able to complete that contract for us. And so the bid waiver is really to continue with the fall cleanup and finishing off all of that. It will then go back out to bid so that we could have a new 3-year contract in place for starting in the spring. So that's something we'll look forward to. So this will just get us through until the winter begins. In terms of our facility study and our educational specs for our one consolidated high school, we have another meeting again, a virtual meeting with our 2 consultants, one from Colliers and one from SLAM, to continue with working on the ed specs. We are rounding that, coming towards the end of that. So we will meet with them again tomorrow. Typically, we meet every other Tuesday for approximately 2 hours. And we go over our needs and review some suggestions that they have. And again, the aim for that is hopefully to have that completed by the end of October, and something that will be able to then be shared maybe sometime in November once we have that all wrapped up and we have all of that finalized from them. So looking forward to sharing all of what they're coming up with for us. And it really seems like it's going to be an extremely comprehensive look at programs and needs for our students and for the district, all into one location. So I'm anxious to see how this comes out in the end and share it with all of you. Last Thursday, Mrs. Latour, Dr. Roscoe, Mrs. Turner, and I met with the mayor to provide the mayor with an update. As we've typically done in the past, we've done this for the past few years when Mayor Dickinson was here as well, to give an overview of our student achievement scores. And so we had an opportunity to sit down and talk with him and share all the things that have been happening here in the district, what our student achievement scores look like, albeit our SBA scores, our Lost Link scores, our SAT scores, and GSS, and to really share all the wonderful things that are happening in this district and the growth that we are seeing. I know some people would like to see it move faster, but I do feel we are in the right direction, and we did have an opportunity to share all the academic things we're doing and all the social emotional programs and services we are providing for our students and our families here within the district. I think he was really impressed with what we're doing thus far, seemed very complimentary of our staff and all the hard work and the dedication that they're putting in, and it was just a nice opportunity to share where we are as a district with him. Let's see if I forgot anything on our list. I think that's all I have, but I do have a couple of donations that I want to highlight before we move on. So we had received, from Mary Ann Moran, we had received $75 to Highland James H. Moran Middle School and Mark T. Sheehan High School in the donation of office supplies, so we want to say thank you. We had also received from First United Methodist Church a donation of $382 for miscellaneous school supplies, so thank you very much for that. And we had received 40 backpacks filled with supplies from First Baptist Church Youth and Social Services Department. That was to E.C. Stevens Elementary School in the value of $475. So again, we appreciate all of those donations as well.
Through curriculum, we have had a very successful start to the school year. Student assessment results from Smarter Balance in the spring were mailed home to all families, so they should be receiving them in the mail any day now. Enrollment has slowed down, thankfully, which is great. And we enrolled over 180 students in grades 1 through 12 over the summer. And so our students are acclimating to their new environments and being welcomed into the school community, which is fantastic. And then I just wanted to update the board on the CID. All of the field trips have been planned for our K through 8 students, which is great. We have trips planned to engage our high school students as well in the astronomy classes that we run at both high schools, so they have equal opportunity in the planetarium. And we're also branching out to provide some opportunity in forensics as well over at the CID. It was our goal to broaden our high school participation a little bit this year. Summer enrollments increased in every opportunity that we provided, mostly at the K-5 level. 6-8 stayed pretty much the same as last summer, but our enrollment with the younger kids really blossomed over the summer, which was nice to see. We have family nights scheduled for every elementary school, partner schools, which will engage our family community as well as our principals and our teachers over at the CID at night. And after school programming is also starting at the 3, 5, and 6, 8 level. So lots of exciting things happening over there. And I'll continue to keep the board apprised of the different opportunities that are taking place at the CID that are starting within the next month.
I just have 2 quick things to share. The first is the week of October 23rd to October 31st is Red Ribbon Week. As every year, we are going to work collaboratively with the Coalition and Youth and Family Services to really promote this. We'll have a lot of our students doing activities. Elementary school students will be creating posters, and our middle school students will be working on a pledge. Both YSS and the Coalition will be visiting lunch waves at the middle schools and high schools. We're really excited about that. So the kickoff is at the Town Council meeting on October 22nd. Everyone is invited to come. And then we will have a kind of our big evening on October 30th at the Senior Center this year. So you are welcome to come. The other thing I wanted to share is we are currently working through the Special Education Task Force on some legislated special education policies. There was a findings document that came out, and the findings document reviews areas in special education related to eligibility, funding, and services. This document was sent to all of our parents of students with special needs. There is a meeting at ACES, really a feedback session at ACES. We encourage all parents to go to the feedback session and really share what they believe the state needs to do to support their children. And I did send that flyer out, and we will be sending a reminder tomorrow to all families.
Mr. Votto.
Did you say there was a document that went out your last
Yes, so the findings document was shared.
findings document? Right?
Yep, with all families. I believe I shared it with you. If I did not, I can send that out to you tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Yes.
And what was October 30th?
October 30th is our Red Ribbon Week finale. So we'll be having, that's when our students will share their pledges, and we'll have some students that are members of the coalition sharing some essays and speaking.
Thank you.
Sorry, that's at the senior center, did you say?
Correct. It's at the senior center this year.
Thank you so much for those updates. I know we always look forward to them because we get a lot of emails, and it's so nice to share it out and hear it all collectively. So much going on from each of you, so thank you so much. Moving to our announcements, looking at our instructional committee meeting, which will be coming up on Monday, October 7th, and that's at 6 p.m. via Google Meet. And then on Monday, October 21st, will be the operations committee, and that is at 6 p.m. And that's a little bit of a change from how we typically do our meetings, just because of how some of the holidays fall in October. So it's the 7th for the instructional committee and the 21st for the operations committee. Again, both 6 p.m. via Google Meet. The next full board meeting here in the town hall chambers will be Monday, October 28th, and that is at 6:30 p.m. And with nothing else to come before this board, I will call the meeting adjourned. Thank you so much.